Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to another day, another live stream of Hearthstone. It is nearly 5 o'clock, 4:59, Friday, November 30th. Kind of woke up late today, but I mean 4 or 5 is kind of where I'm trying to stream too. And I'm also wondering if I should be if I should change the title back to just Hearthstone on the live streams, because I'm kind of wondering if I'm losing views because I added "and video game news" to be more accurate, because maybe it really is just a system where people type in Hearthstone and whatever matches exactly Hearthstone on YouTube search results is what you get. I have one person online right now, and I need to do a challenge a friend, and otherwise I don't really need to do anything on the Americas account. So that puts us in a nice position where we can just kind of play ranked. And I haven't played Murloc ranked in a while. So it's been about 2 months since the Murlocs kinda got nerfed a little bit, and so due to that it'll be interesting to see what happens there, I guess.
Thrall versus Gul'dan. Your soul shall be mine for Doomhammer.
So play this. I guess even though Murlocs were nerfed with the Murloc War Leader, you still really just play this deck the same way as I have been, and it was a more successful deck at 50%, 83 to 82, than anything else I've tried. The next expansion has been announced. We'll get to that as soon as I can find that page. But let's just go through the news news as it is. Quite a lot of news, and today's Friday, so on top of that we have a level of needing to get everything done in all of the on all of the accounts, or we have at least a desire. So Cave Project quote 3JUS has a teaser website to introduce a new character.
We must
I don't know this game. Let's see. So Cave is the company, and the code name is 3JUS, and they introduce a character. I think this is kind of an odd game because it's like Japanese school children, mostly girls from what I can tell, in a post-apocalyptic war zone world. Like you see this girl's holding a long sniper rifle. So yeah, there's just a lot of question marks, I suppose you could have there. I'm hoping this takes 4 damage, and it didn't, which is gonna put me in a bad position. So yeah, until this game, I guess, gets more information, it's not even worth reporting on. It's just they've introduced this character called Tomomi Kamuro, which is the girl with the long sniper rifle, which is literally almost as long as she is tall. Of course, no reason to really expect realism. This, and then this, and then we've really just got to start making some progress here if I'm gonna win. I do need victories, but I also need challenge a friend, and in the challenge of friends, I don't need to really win. Next bit of news that probably is more news than that was, because that, like, there's the one thing with how I've changed the news, and I will fully admit it, I've stopped curating news as much. Like, I do look at the titles of an article, which are basically just clickbait, but I don't look at the article and really read it. So there will be instances where I just run into a site that says, well, they've got a new picture up, so here's that new picture, and that's not really informative. I've also given it some thought of maybe I should do the news just on the screen. I could do something like that and actually just not have any Hearthstone going at all. I suppose that's what I would do if I fully was burnt out with Hearthstone. I would just bring up the news articles and read directly from them. I don't know if that really adds anything to the stream though. Well, it probably just makes it worse. So the next bit of news, Dragon Quest Rivals is now available in Japan. It's on the iOS App Store and Android Google Play Store, which is kind of interesting because, like, looking at this image, I would have thought this was a PlayStation game. Like, it must just be... Oh, it's like a card-based fighting game, it seems. Interesting. Now, I've probably talked about this game before, but so potentially there might be a, like, there might just maybe might be some competition on Hearthstone, although I'm not sure. Like, Dragon Quest isn't really gonna sell itself well in the West. It will it could potentially in 5 to 10 years if they pushed it very hard and promoted it, but right now it doesn't have that name recognition, and it probably doesn't even have the funding compared to something like Blizzard's and Hearthstone ability to advertise. There's a game called Goblins of Elderstone, which is a city builder where you control the bad guys. It's coming to Steam Early Access next year. Let's see what this looks like. Like, the concept, just on the words of it, seems slightly interesting, but I don't really know what that means. I mean, I guess it's just like Warcraft, like the original Warcraft. You're just playing as orcs and doing a city building game and controlling the orcs and making them mine. And
the legions I command.
At a certain point, I think you're just going against other kinds of like humans. The orcs are kind of cartoony and cutesy, which I don't know if it really needs to do that, but that would be fine. And you can upgrade different classes of orcs. So there's really nothing about this game, Goblins of Elderstone, that's interesting, other than the fact that it has the potential to be a direct Warcraft ripoff, and I don't know if that really makes me interested in it either, because I have much more nostalgia to want to play the original Warcraft, something that was historically important, over the idea of simply just emulating Warcraft in a modern 2018 now, is when this game would come out. Ubisoft says Assassin's Creed Origins high CPU usage is not due to DRM. Let's see. Do they explain what it is due to, if they're gonna give us that line, which is kind of, I don't believe, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, it does have de novo in it, and so that argument comes up every single time, and I guess if something gets repeated enough, it starts to be believable, even to me. Like, the system requirements, according to this article, are pretty high. Anyways. So that might be another reason that it's taking up so much CPU processes. But not crazy. It needs a i5 with 6 GB of RAM and a GTX 660 for a steady 30 frames per second performance. Which, okay, that's a little high compared to some really low-end games, but it's not really high compared to a AAA title. And it'll be funny if it turns out that it is de novo. It would be funny if they came out with a different explanation. Sadly, that article I just read didn't really give any real explanation. It's just a denial, and that's not helpful. Like, I don't want blatant denials. Nobody is satisfied with a story like that. We want explanations. Maybe there is something about the open world engine that's being used in Assassin's Creed that makes it particularly intensive. Maybe it's the fact that it's an incredibly buggy game. That might be it too. This article says EA CEO says visceral closure and the ragtag cancellation. Ragtag being the project title for the Star Wars game that they were working on wasn't about single versus multiplayer. And I think, to be fair, he's probably right. Like, it was perhaps a well-intentioned but dishonest argument, a way of bringing up that conversation, which was already brought up with more and more games being cancelled or losing single player for multiplayer. That argument got applied to what more sounds like, in my opinion, was an example of EA intentionally or unintentionally setting up Amy Hennig, who was the creative director of the project, to fail. They were promising her, I think, more than they can actually deliver, and she was very possibly promising more than she could actually deliver. And that combination of just two big time managers, the managers above Amy Hennig and her being the managers, big timing each other and boasting about what they can do, started the project on a long path of being doomed to failure, if that makes any sense, because then Amy Hennig, with her ideas and what she wanted to do, was kind of hamstrung to work within realities that that she couldn't actually achieve what she was hoping to achieve because she didn't have the right team or the right funding or the right ability to lead. I think those three things in particular are probably what she was missing. So she was promised the world. In return, she promised her bosses the world, and then the poor underlings had to try and deliver, like a Peter Molyneux game, or like the developer of No Man's Sky, just promising and promising and promising, and getting hyped about your own game to the point of not being realistic. And so I think it eventually just came to a head after they failed to meet some metrics somewhere, that maybe the metrics were fair metrics, maybe the metrics were unfair metrics. It's kind of hard to tell. Let's see. I could make this a 5-5. Or then I can make that a 5-5. So I gotta do this, 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 and this. Actually, I didn't need to do that one. To do that and that. Play that and do that. So is there anything more in this article? No, not really. EACO. Like, I don't think there's really too much he could even say or would want to say. The fact that it was a Star Wars game certainly also hurts her development anyways, because it puts this level of expectations on them that they wouldn't be there otherwise.
Like sweating insects! Like sweating insects!
There we go. Apparently Valve wants you to fight more and hide less in Dota 2's new Dueling Fates update. I think I had forgotten, or maybe I never knew, that Dota was a Valve property. Like, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think League of Legends or the Blizzard one have kind of, at least in my mind, completely caused me to forget that Dota is still being actively developed. Alright, Wind Fury to all of these guys. That'll be interesting. But all he has to do is a little bit more damage and I'll be dead.
Well played.
According to this article, newcomers are more welcome than ever in the latest Dota 2 patch. But that being said, I'm looking at a screenshot of Dota, and there's just a ton of menu there. So yeah, as someone who doesn't know anything about Dota, that doesn't really mean anything to me, but I am trying to cover more things, at least to the point where we can find somebody else might be able to learn something from that. I guess we'll try some different thing. I need somebody to hop on to challenge a friend, otherwise I'm gonna have to. I guess I could challenge myself on my secondary account if necessary, but I'll do that in this post game if that gets down to that. There's a very silly multiplayer romp called Oh My Godheads that is leaving early access in on December 5th. Let's watch a trailer and see what that's all about. So it's a low polygon count 3D characters running around the 3D environment. They don't look bad, it's low polygon count. Like, I wish there was a better term for that. But I think consistently that is what we're gonna have to call things, is low polygon count. They run around, they find these heads that are all different shapes, giant heads, and then it seems to be kind of a capture the flag element of carrying it to your base. The levels are slightly interesting depending on how many there actually are. Now, on the second turn, will he be able to destroy all of these? But that being said, it's a 1 to 4 player couch only multiplayer game. It doesn't seem like it's really got anything special about it. And coming out early December, might be bad for indie games, honestly. You're getting dangerously close to being too late in the year to release new games. When you start hitting December, you want to hit that Black Friday. Next thing is the game Happy Manager has a Japanese box art and first print bonus announced, which doesn't really mean anything. Happy Manager is coming out for the PS4 January 11th in Japan, and I believe, if I'm remembering right, it's it's one of these weird Japanese games. Certainly you're managing girls to do something? I don't know. What per se? What the twist there is are you managing a team of pop idols? Are you managing a team of singers? Or are you managing something completely different? Let's see. This has to die. Then this has to die. This has to die. And then this has to die. And then hit that. There is something a little strange about Happy Manager's screenshots that I'm seeing. Every single one of these girls is in a Japanese school uniform, but the skirts are incredibly high, even for a Japanese game, and their midriff is showing and belly button showing, which is also odd because that's not even like a fetish that Japanese people are into. Like, I've never seen in any other Japanese game the belly button being emphasized. And this is rated 0D, if that means anything. I'd have to look up what 0D is as far as the Japanese rating, but I bet D is pretty high as far as how old you are supposed to be to play it. Well, that was a victory. Maybe I should just stick with this beast deck. I do want to get up to rank 20 to get the card backs. And so, yeah, if I run into an issue where that's all we need to do, throughout the month of November. Yeah, I need to focus to get to at least 20. Gintama Rumble, next story, adds Toshiru Hijakata, Isao Kondo, Saogu Okita, and Nobume Imai, which I probably butchered, almost certainly butchered all those names, but Gintama Rumble, if you like that show, the game is getting more characters, and that should make people generally just happy. Dynasty Warriors details several. Dynasty Warriors 9 details several new characters also. Xinjiang Ying, Zhu Hong, Tashi Si, Lu Shan, Pang Tong, Chen Gong, and Hiding Places. Is that the name of a character, Hiding Places? Is it pronounced something like Hiding Places? I mean, I don't even know how you pronounce that. And with the pictures you can see who these characters are. Well, you can't, but I can, and they're all Chinese people of the Dynasty Warriors fame. It would be really hard for a Westerner or just somebody in general who's not familiar with the Chinese history to know who those characters are. The Romance of the Three Kingdoms and all of that. Like, it's just going to be a lot of characters that you... Maybe you could put in a decent story mode to introduce all those characters, but you'd have to do it for every single game, and I don't think Dynasty Warriors is going to bother to do any of that. The gameplay doesn't really work that way. Neo Complete Edition is coming out on PC November 7th. So that is kind of nice because that allows you to skip over the 3 downloadable expansions, Dragon of the North, Defiant Horror, and Bloodshed's End. And it also gives you a new helmet and higher resolution graphics. The point there being that because I can because you can get the complete edition now, and because I've not bought any of Neo because it was really too expensive. Most games honestly are too expensive to buy brand new. They don't justify it. As a YouTube video game critic, if I had enough funding, I would still endure that cost, certainly, but it just from my own personal ownership of a game, I wouldn't have bought, and I didn't buy most games brand new, and I usually wait at least a year until they're close to at least 50% off, which for me makes the argument that games are only $60 and they haven't gone up really not a valid argument at all, because as far as I'm concerned, they were still too expensive even when they were first $60. And the used game market, the video game developers and publishers hate, really is the only way I personally would have ever played most games. There are a few exceptions, like notably I would, everything else considered, if I had already owned the Switch, I would have bought Super Mario Odyssey brand new, but I wouldn't have bought Zelda Breath of the Wild new, and so then there would have had to been something else that had convinced me to buy the the Switch itself when it was relatively new. I bought The Witness brand new. I got The Witcher 3 brand new because I bought a video card, otherwise I wouldn't have bought that. I regret buying The Witness brand new, honestly. But yeah, now that Neo is going to be in a gold edition, I can start looking like 6 months to a year from now to buying it and see if I can sneak it in. It does give you an action way to play something that's built around Japanese horror stories, like, and that would be nice. Like, I would like to maybe next Halloween be able to play a Japanese horror based story. Let's see, let's just use the coin at this point. Wow, I totally messed up his spells with the coin. That was a lucky move. I really haven't given it any thought. I mean, just barely finished October this year, but next year I'll have something other to play, I'm sure. There's still plenty of horror games in the video game world. It's just ones that are slightly different are always interesting because so many horror games are around the same ideas. Moving on, let's see. Play Stampede, and then do this, and then do this, and kill that one. And just keep doing damage, and we'll be done. Arc System Works has established a North American branch. The new branch is to ensure the fans' voices are heard and applied, which is an interesting sentiment. So I think Arc System Works is a Japanese company, but it doesn't particularly sound like a Japanese company. Let's see. Arc System Works has been the pinnacle of 2D fighting game development, merging traditional Japanimation. Well, first of all, don't use the phrase Japanimation because nobody uses that. But maybe they are using that to indicate something that I haven't ever thought of before. Like, maybe they are now saying animation and anime is not Japanese enough. And so now they're using the phrase Japanimation to clearly say it's Japanese. You cannot really criticize any Japanese company that says they're actually going to listen to North America more or the West more, because they have been, Japanese companies in general have been so reluctant to listen to anybody, anywhere, even their own employees at lower levels. They really have their heads in the sand. That if any company is willing to listen to anything, that's great. Clearly, in this instance, they're a fighting game developer and they want to go big time. They want to go esports, and because of that, there's a strong need to listen and have the people, the player base, come to them.
Rexar versus Rexar.
Here's an article that's not really worth talking about. I don't think it's called Once Upon a Coma. It's like a somber flash game. It looks kind of like a platformer. This is one of the indie GIF showcase that PC Gamer does, where they just kind of show off indie games. And because I haven't heard of them before, it's coming out in 2018, but if it's a flash game, it's not coming out to Steam, and then that's not really news, is it, to talk about something and try to promote something when you have really nothing to say about it? Moving on. Here's probably another one. A game called Crown of Leaves, a visual novel about an anthropomorphic jeweler. So you're a horse character and a jeweler for some reason. I mean, I've seen weird video games before. This is just getting crazy. This is weird. I'm gonna play this. Don't do that. And the trailer makes this game look a lot more action-oriented than I would expect from any visual novel. Yeah, that trailer is not really depicting the game at all. This screenshot shows it a little bit better. And I guess there's something slightly interesting there. Like, I guess? But it's almost kind of like a furry game for furry fans, which there have been a couple of those. It's got an itch.io page, so it probably isn't coming to Steam, and there's really no information. So another game on the long list of games that may be interesting later on, but probably won't be. Let's see, we need to play this, and then this, and Noble Sacrifice kills it. There we go. Here's a bigger company, Ubisoft, teasing Rainbow Six Siege Operation White Noise and confirms Year 3 is coming, which is odd because I thought they had specifically said that that they were kind of not doing anything more with that game. Rainbow Six Siege is, in my opinion, an incredibly boring, incredibly poorly thought out idea for a game. It's this multiplayer game where you're playing as the bad guys or a SWAT team. The bad guys kidnap somebody in one of what feels like 5 different maps that you play over and over again, and then the SWAT team has to breach the room in that map where you've either kidnapped somebody, or sometimes they place a bomb instead, and then they have to break in and stop and disarm the bomb. But that's kind of all the game is. It's just this: you're gonna literally siege a place, and frankly, I think I'd prefer to play one of the old SWAT games where there was a lot more training and talking about what the SWAT does. And in both games, you're probably making the SWAT come out like they do more and they're more noble in their actions than they probably are in reality. Just boring game in general. And it only has the Rainbow Six name on it because they want that Tom Clancy tie-in. Otherwise, this would just have been a game called Siege or something. But I don't see a lot of people playing it. I don't see a lot of reason why anybody would want to play it. Right. Finally get rid of my own guy. Awesome Games Done Quick 2018 schedule is up. Let's see if we can actually see a link to it. So the Sunday let's see, all times have been changed to my local time, UTC -5. I don't even know if that's right, but so if you're UTC -5, the Sunday, January 7th, the pre-show starts at 10:30 in the morning, and then there's something for 30 minutes labeled Hype, and then Crash Bandicoot Insane, Crash Bandicoot 3, Ratchet and Clank, and then New Game Plus, Splatoon 2, and Splatoon Any %, and then Infamous First Light, Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim, Main Quest, Hollow Knight, Any %, No Storage, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, F-Zero GX, all tracks. I'm not going over the times here. Yooka-Laylee, Blaster Master Zero. I haven't heard of that one. Batman the video game, Batman Arkham Asylum. That'll be a little interesting to watch Batman Arkham Asylum speedrun. Maybe. It's an any % run, and so like a lot of times when they break the game and they're doing any % runs, you don't actually see any of the story of the game at all, and then it really just comes down to, is the person in the chair explaining what they're doing and being entertaining, because they're really the only reason to be there. Let's see. Guess I have to get rid of this. Then Monday, January 8th, you have Little Big Planet 2, Prinny 2 Dawn of Operation, Panties Dude. That's at 2:20 a.m. That seems like a odd game. And that's really what I love about the speedrun games, is they'll show me odd games I've missed. Next game is called Hell's Finest, and then Battle Block Theater I've heard of. Environmental Station Alpha, haven't heard of that. Tenosha, haven't heard of that. Waveland, Gunner's Heaven, and Contra starts at 7:26. So like the noticeable games start once you hit reasonable times, and everything else is played in the middle of the night when nobody is really watching. Contra 3 after Contra, Pop and Twist Rainbow Bell Adventure, haven't heard that. Next is called Magical Poppin', then Disney's Aladdin, then Wario Woods, Donkey Kong Country 2, and then there's a Setup Block 1 at noon, and then Sonic Advance 3, and then Sonic Adventure 2, and then Sonic Mania, and then Sonic and Tails, and then Mega Man 3, and then Mega Man X4, and Mega Man X, and then Metal Gear Solid, the original Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, and let's see, Halo 5 Guardians, and then 007 Agent Under Fire. Wow, can't even pronounce it right. And let's see, there's 2 more days here. Wow, 3 more days. 4 more days. 5 more days? How long does this thing go? It goes for a whole week. Seriously. Alright, well. So you're gonna basically spend an entire week in January if you were watching all of this. Just going through all of that. Let's play one more game. I don't want to break up covering all of these games in between 2 recordings, but after this game I will break up the recordings. So the next day you have Burnout Paradise. Let's try to speed this up more. I didn't realize it was this long. Zero Sam 3, BFE, El Matador, haven't heard of that one. Prince of Persia, Warrior Within. A lot of these games are noticeably the same games every year, so you probably wouldn't want to watch it more than once every 4 or 5 years. Risk of Rain, there's something just called Link. That's odd. Something called Die, DYE. Then Lovely Planet. Super Lovely Planet, Raymond. Dynamite, Hetty. Rice Star, Gargoyles. Castlevania, Harmony and Dissonance. Let's see. Every beast I play. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Fire Emblem 8. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Super Mario 3D World, Half-Life, Opposing Force, Left 4 Dead. I'm assuming setup blocks are not actual things, that instead they are indications of when other things need to be done to set up equipment. Left 4 Dead 2, Dying Light, Resident Evil 7, Biohazard, RE3 Nemesis. You know, you don't see anybody really play RE4 though. Silent Hill, Blood 2. I don't think I know that game. Disney's Toy Story, of course. I'd like to probably see that one just to see if that's a terrible game. Just for my own personal use, to see if kids games are, if it's a good kids game. Holy Diver, Kid Icarus, Wizards and Warriors, Little Nemo, Journey to Silas. This. Let's see. Panic Restaurant, Mitsume ga Toru. That'll be one I haven't seen. Chippendale Rescue Rangers. I want to see if that's good. I think I've seen that before, and it actually probably isn't worth playing. Snake Rattle and Roll. Is that snake game that came out earlier this year? I wanted to get that, but again, that was one of those too expensive to buy brand new games. Guerrilla War, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Hyperstone Heist. Now there's been a lot of just a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games, so it's kind of hard to tell which of those games that one they're talking about. Is it the arcade game? Is it the NES game, Super NES game? Is it a modern PC game? Battletoads Arcade, Battletoads, Dragon Warrior, Metroid, Strider, Wario Land 4, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario Sunshine. And they have made this long enough now to the point where you really can just go on forever and see a significant percentage, at least, of all the games that are worth knowing about or playing, like some major classics, that's being speedrun. So one of these speedrun things might be a great way to get kids into video games. It's like, you don't have to push any buttons, just watch these people play the game. But it would probably also be a horrible way to get kids into video games, because you wouldn't have them playing the game and they wouldn't really have any interest in watching it. Like, it's probably something closer to a middle tier education of old games. It's like, why don't you watch the speed run of this old game I used to play instead of actually playing it, because I know it would be really frustrating if you did try to play it. Well, that didn't quite work. This game called Princess Rescue, Arabian Nights, EnviroBear 2000, Dog's Life, Animorphs, Shadowed Reality, Spider-Man 3, Invasion of the Spider Slayers, Bubsy 2, Subterraria. A lot of these speedrun games are actually, I know they're bad, but that's kind of not even the point. Let's see. Play this, do this, and then I can do this one and that one. Ernest Evans, haven't heard of that one. Rex Ronan, Experiment Surgeon, The Simpsons, Bart vs. the Space Mutants, Blues Brothers, Home Alone 2, Beat the Game, Deadly Towers, Sylvian Tale, Ultima 6, The False Prophet, Secret of Evermore, Legend of the Mystical Ninja. There are some games here I imagine also are just, they're kind of never gonna be speedrun because there's no real way to speed up the process. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Zelda Ocarina of Time still takes way too long. But then I have been surprised in the past where people are playing Final Fantasy speedruns and still taking 5 hours to beat a game, but that game was probably 200 plus hours. Umahara Kawase, Star Fox 2, Rockman and Forte, haven't heard of that. All Collectibles for Dishonored, Prey 2017, Duke Nukem 3D, Star Wars Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, The End is Nigh. That's a newer game, so that would probably be the first speedrun of that any big event has done. Ori and the Blind Force Definitive Edition, Owlboy. I'm gonna be playing Owlboy pretty soon here, probably later today if I get lucky enough to get around to it. And I am energetic enough to get around to it. So we're now at Friday, January 12th. And at 12:30 a.m. is I Want to Run the Marathon, and then Quantum Conundrum. Wonder if that really is a game called I Want to Run the Marathon. Hyperlight Drifter, Spelunky, with Spelunky 2 being announced, I'm sure there will be a lot of talk and hype about that. Kamiko, never heard of that game. Octodad, Hacky Zack, never heard of that one. Armed with Wings, Rearmed. That's a new one to me. Taker, T-A-I-K-E-R. Both of those games are being played by Half Coordinated, by the way. The player, YouTuber who has severe muscle weakness in one hand and only plays using one hands because of it. And it's not just like one hand, his entire, I think, half of his body is severely weak. Next game is Cloud Built. Then there's Full Defiance, Full Game Defense, and then Card Quest. I guess that's the same. I guess Cloud Built has a mode called Full Game Defiance. Cat Quest is a newer game. Next game is called Desha de Lightning Stage. Never heard of that one. The Addams Family, Wonder Boy, The Dragon's Trap, Jack and Dexter, The Precursor's Legacy, Super Mario Galaxy, then Super Monkey Ball, and then Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Final Mix HD. And see, that's supposed to be an hour long. I find that a little hard to believe. Let's keep harding. Pokemon Black and White 2, Mega Man 1 through 3 Team Relay Race. That'll be interesting. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 100% is going to take 4 hours and 40 minutes, and somebody is playing that at 10:30 p.m. on Friday, and nobody else takes over until like 3:16 for Kirby Canvas Curse. Gex 3 Deep Cover Gecko, Pac-Man World, Super Mario Land 2, the 6 Golden Coins, the Zone of Enders, the second run. There is something interesting about Super Mario Land 2 and the 6 Golden Coins in the fact I think that's a Game Boy game, or Game Boy Color, maybe even a Game Boy Advance, but my guess is probably Game Boy or Game Boy Color. So it takes probably a little bit more work to play a portable Game Boy game than some of these other older console games. And most speedrunners only play on original hardware. So you're very possibly gonna see that game being played through like a Super Game Boy adapter on an original Super NES. Like, nobody really wants to try to verify that an emulator hasn't been programmed or tweaked as far as speedruns, so they're just in general forbidden. Zone of the Enders, the second run, Tintin in Tibet. I want to see that because I want to know more about Tintin, since it's not very popular. I mean, it's completely unheard of in the United States. The Legend of Zelda, which is, I assume, the first game. Mass Effect 1, Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, Diablo, the 1996 game. Why is there another Diablo game? Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition, Bloodborne, Final Fantasy IV, which apparently they're going to beat in 2 hours and 30 minutes, The Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, and Super Mario World, and let's see, The Legend of Zelda Link to the Past has a randomizer, like, I think mod put on it. I've seen them do that before. And then on Sunday at 12:55 a.m. they're doing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is going to take almost 4 hours to do all main quests with no amiibos. And then at 5:02 a.m. There will be the finale. So they're kind of going into the early morning of Sunday, but they're not doing anything more. That is a very long list. I would argue that the percentage of returning favorites seems a little high, but also I kind of know that people don't watch games that they're not really interested in because of the way the speedrun is just so long and so consistent. So every year probably is going to be a lot of returning favorites, regardless of whether they need to or not. So they do their best, I would say, to get some other games in there, things that I haven't heard of, things that other people haven't seen before, or at the very least try to do it a little bit different so it's not the same run through Metroid Prime over and over again. Well, I still need somebody to jump on, or I'm gonna have to play myself, and I still need to get one more victory, and I think we'll probably just skip over in between the break here to the European account, and then we might jump back if somebody hops on the chat. It's a typical Friday, and starting late, starting early on Friday so far hasn't made any difference in my mind. Maybe that it will get down to the point where, like, on Fridays I start at 3 o'clock, on Mondays I start at 5. Like, if I could get any kind of sense or any kind of metrics to make any of that make any sense, it will have to be once I'm getting many more viewers. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. Stay tuned if you're watching live. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.